Hey everyone, this is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. I am so excited today because I have a fierce female in the industry here. And let me tell you, when you think about the industry, you think about, rappers, you think about actors, you think about singers, artists, dancers. And sometimes when you think about the caliber of that industry, it's predominantly men, okay? So today I have Laura Seddon. She is the creative producer at Changes, and the topic today is about industry, but we're going to learn more than just the industry with this lovely lady today. Thank you for blessing our show today with opening with a prayer.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's just so amazing to see you in your element, running, about to be in your rightful place as the mayor of Inglewood.
Oh my God. I know when that prayer, I was like, oh my God, that is just so amazing because a lot of people, they like Reina means queen in Spanish, and in the community, the Latino community, they're like La Reina de Inglewood, the queen of Inglewood in Spanish. So the term, I can always be cocky and say I'm the queen of Inglewood, but I like the fact that I can say it in the Spanish way because it's less intimidating. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so when you said to put this queen in her rightful, seat, I'm like blown away because that's powerful, because that's just confirming what God has in store for me. Mm-hmm. And putting me queen, which means reina in Spanish, to put Reina in her rightful seat to be mayor of Inglewood. That's so inspiring. So
I didn't even know Reina meant queen.
Yeah.
See, you just speak through.
Yeah, so that's why I said the power of prayer is so powerful. Yeah. So from your mouth to God's ears, honey. Yes.
I found that you just have to pray before everything. It sets the tones. You kind of surrender, you release, and then you allow him to work through, and that's when all the miracles come in.
It does. So I want to share with the viewers that I had a great opportunity to meet you, not even knowing your titles. Like people call themselves different titles, right? But I did know when I met you in Hollywood Hills, you had this energy that was very attracting, but I didn't know what it was. So when I was ready to leave and you were like, oh, I want to talk to you. And we spoke and I shook your hands and I said to myself, this is an amazing woman. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? A woman with purpose and vision, right? And helping others. You have a big heart. And so that's what attracted me to you, was that big heart and that handshake, because the handshake was a confirmation, because I'm a person, I try not to say read people because people look at it more as a psychic, but it is reading people. It's like God gives you that discernment to know who they are, by shaking that hand. And so I said to myself, oh my God, I would love to get to know her, be able to see how I can utilize you in my life, you know what I mean? And to help the community. And so after that, we had a beautiful get together in Marina Del Rey. And that was more of a I don't know, I felt like we officially became like friends.
Girlfriends, yes.
It was like official, like this is it. Like I met her in this element and now we vibed and, talked about, our lives and our journeys, our good and bad, trials and tribulations. Mm-hmm. But I always feel like we need those trials and tribulations in order to go to the next level, because it's all a learning process, good or bad, So now, tell the viewers now, taking them back memory lane, where were your parents from? Because culture means a lot to me, right? Mm-hmm. And then where were you born and raised, and how was your childhood?
Okay, sure. So my parents, my mom is Armenian and Irish, and my father is Italian and English, and I was born and raised in Rhode Island, about 3 hours from New York City.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I love Italians. Mm-hmm. I do. I love their food, everything. One day I want to go to New York. You know what I mean?
You haven't been to New York. No, you have to go.
Never been, but I've always desired to go. I remember one time I was leaving to Texas and our flight ended up in New York. So when they told us to get out the airplane, I saw that big old Empire State Building. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm like right there. Like I can see it, but I can't touch it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But it made me feel like you need to come.
Mm-hmm.
You need to see. I want to go to Little Italy. I want to see the Puerto Ricans over there. You know what I mean? Like
Yes, all the parades, the Puerto Rican Day Parade, the West Indian Parade. There's just so much amazing culture and celebration out there.
And I love culture.
Yeah.
Yes. And I used to date an Armenian back in the days.
Ooh.
Yes. And his mother was like a French Armenian.
Okay.
Yeah, so I I love their culture. The food was different, but the father was kind of strict looking, but the mother, she was so amazing, so beautiful. So I love my Armenian people and I love my Italian people. You know what I mean? And so you grew up over there in Rhode Island, right? So how was that over there?
It was nice. I actually grew up on an island. It's called Aquidneck Island. It's made up of 3 different towns, Newport, Middletown, and Portsmouth. And it was beautiful. We were surrounded by the ocean. And, you know how it is when you're a kid. You want to be anywhere but where you are. I wanted to be in New York and be in LA. And I was, super influenced by the hip hop that was coming from New York, just a few hours away. So I just couldn't wait to get out and kind of see the world. But now when I go back to Rhode Island, it's wow, like this is really beautiful, and I'm so grateful to have grown up there.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love the ocean. Anything with water, I don't know what it is. Like my to-go place, like a quick place to go is Palos Verdes. It's oh my God, it's beautiful. Like I found a place where you could just park for free, walk through the trail. You see the big old resort, and to the far bottom left to the right is a like a cave. And they have beautiful rocks, and it's amazing. And anytime like my friends tell me like, oh, take me over there, or take me somewhere different, I take them to that little spot.
Because I'm gonna need that address.
Oh yes, of course. Or we can go together.
Yeah, I would love
take
to.
that walk and put those tennis shoes on and or little tight little whatever they are. I call them Spanx, but they're workout pants. And so the water is so beautiful to me. I don't know. I just feel connected to the water, to the ocean. And then the second best place is Coronado Island by San Diego. It's like it doesn't even look like it's California. It's beautiful. And then last but not least, it's called Half Moon Bay at the Ritz-Carlton. It looks like we're in Ireland, but we're not.
That's in LA?
California.
Oh, okay.
It's in California, going towards the Bay Area, before the Bay Area. So those are my 3 favorite spots in California. And so when you graduated from high school, what was that life? And then how did you get to California?
So that was a journey for sure.
I was like, New York and California, okay?
Yeah, so it was a process. Like I went to school in New York for a brief stint, and then I ended up coming back and going to the University of Rhode Island. And after I graduated, I wanted to be in LA. I was super inspired by Tupac. I felt like just drawn by the energy to come out here. And I had come for a little bit, but then some stuff happened. I ended up going back home. I ended up doing AmeriCorps, which is kind of like the Peace Corps, but in America, in Atlanta for a year. Then I moved to New York for a little bit, back to Rhode Island, out to San Diego, and then finally got to LA. And I think I needed it. I think if I had come out here right out of school, it's so easy to get swallowed up when you come to places like this. So I felt like I kind of had to, just develop a bit of a thick skin, learn how to read people, really get focused on my purpose and what I was passionate about. And then, I got out here in 2012, just had my 10-year anniversary last month.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But it's just been a blessing. Like I didn't know what to expect, but I felt it so strongly in my spirit that I was meant to be here, and I'm so happy that I followed it.
So at the time when you talk about purpose and passion, what was your purpose and what was your passion coming to LA?
Yeah, I think it was like an ever-evolving kind of thing. At the time, like when I grew up, like I said, very inspired by hip-hop. It saved my life. Like the things that Tupac talked about made more sense to me than anything I had learned in school. Like it felt like a lot of the things I was learning were not true. And what he was talking about, even when I heard the song Changes when I was 10, 11 years old, it just sparked something in me where I'm like, how is somebody not even that far away from me living a completely different life? And all these things that he's talking about, I just became so curious about it, and I felt like hip hop had saved my life. So I was thinking, like, how do I contribute, or how do I pay that back or pay that forward? And so I just had this belief that, like, the intersection of hip hop and spirituality and personal development, that was where the key to change was. But I didn't necessarily know how to make it happen. But I felt like I was supposed to follow the path that he had taken, or kind of continue on the work that he had started. And when I came out to LA, I'm like, is that a job? I want to do a Tupac? Like, what is that? You know, I didn't know. So I would just pray. And there's this movie, Tupac Resurrection, where he talks about, you know, I just want to be an angel for God. I just want to do something where I can be of some help. And so I started in the music industry. I got a job at Chris Brown's management company. And that was kind of my leeway into it. But I soon found, like, what the industry is, and that there's a lot of darkness, and there's a lot of, you really have to find your way in it. So that's when I started to pray that prayer of, like, all right, God, just use me. Let me be an angel for you. Show me what you want me to do, like, lead my path. And, it took me a lot of places. It took me to, a fashion brand where I started doing, collaborations with hip hop artists and doing social media and, influencer placements. And that kind of led me to a place where I'm like, you know what, if I stay within this world, I'm going to kind of become it. And so I had to take a step back. And in 2016, I left and started my own company, again, on the prayer of, like, God, show me what you want me to do. And just through that, like, things just started to happen. I had this vision to do an event for celebrating the life of Biggie Smalls. And it just came to me. And when I did that created this whole pathway for me to do all these events. And all these people started to come to me, and things just started to unfold, like things beyond my wildest, dreams. And yeah, just slowly but surely, like, things in marketing and billboards and artist relations and creative production, and just kind of this whole, like, amalgamation of service mixed with hip hop, mixed with gathering. And it just kind of formed brick by brick.
People together.
Totally.
And music, food, and art brings people together.
Totally.
All the time. Oh my gosh. So now, creative producer at Changes. Kind of give us some, information about that.
Sure. So the journey to get there, where I met you, was at Thug's Mansion, the spot you're talking about in the Hollywood Hills. And so, when I started my own company for a few years, I did a bunch of different stuff, worked with different artists. I started working in the cannabis industry as well, doing different events for people. And then in 2019, I came to this place. I was just like, okay, I don't want to just do another event or have another client. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, where, like, how, what's the real, like, how do I get there? And so I had done this fast in March of that month, and it was no meats, no sweets, no alcohol. And, like, I was fasting on my purpose. What's that next thing? And on the last day of my fast is the day that Nipsey Hussle ascended. And I was a very, very big fan of him, because I see the lineage of, like, Malcolm X to Tupac to Nipsey, like that real spirit of outlaw, energy. And when he passed, I mourned so much, and I went into this deep reflection, and I realized that he was living out all the things that Tupac had talked about and had started. Just got chills. And that reinvigorated in me this purpose of, well, you moved out here to do those things that Pac was doing as well, that Pac was talking about. And over the course of the next couple of months, I just went into this deeply spiritual kind of place where these miracles were happening, and I was being shifted and getting messages. And then I met with a cannabis client that I had worked with, and I pitched the idea for doing a Thug's Mansion. And Thug's Mansion.
I like that, because that the song, you know what I mean? Like, I would have never thought about a location in Hollywood Hills and call it Thug Mansion. Super dope. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, of course, I appreciate it. So he has the song, but then I had also seen this video of his mom, Afeni, talking about what Thug's Mansions were. And Tupac had plans to bring them about all over the world. And they were places where you could bring people in to help them connect and to cultivate their dreams, whether they had a criminal record, whether they wanted to be outside of the traditional corporate structure, like real places to develop people as artists, entrepreneurs, and things of that nature. And the vision just started to become more and more clear. And I had pitched it in the past and I had gotten a bunch of no's, but for some reason around that time, the energy was just right. And I was able to get that house in the Hollywood Hills and just brick by brick built it. Like, I didn't know how it was going to come together, again, with a lot of prayer, a lot of a very strong intention.
And having faith, you know what I mean?
A lot of faith.
Because without faith, they said something about it doesn't work or something. I forgot that verse. Without faith, it doesn't work. I don't know.
Yeah.
But one of those, I forget how it goes, but it says that, if you don't have the faith, it's not going to happen because you don't have no faith. But if you have faith, then things come out in favor of you because God is showing you, you've reached out to me, you prayed to me, you're asking me for help, and now here I am. Totally. And then you just see all the blessings, Yes. Because that place was beautiful.
It was miraculous.
Yeah, swimming pool looking over Hollywood Hills.
Marilyn Monroe had done photo shoots in the house. It was on Blue Jay Way by the Beatles' house. It was beyond my wildest dreams and expectations. But I realized that came from me I stopped asking God, I need this. And I started being what do you need from me? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to create? And then through that, it was miraculous because brick by brick, it got built. I reached out to my girl, Lindsay India, who had worked at audio visual company, and she sent me all this stuff for a music studio and for a podcast studio. And then I hit up all my friends that are artists like Caitlin McGrath and Tavon Sampson, and they just brought in all their artwork and they put what I call the angels, soldiers, and prophets on the walls, all that people of that energy, the Marilyn Monroes, the Tupacs, the Nipseys, the Biggies, the people that fought for the underdog and were all about love and truth, like Prince and, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and just kind of that Maya Angelou, that energy of that. And so through that, we built it out, but then the real miracles were the people that started to come, what that energy started to attract. And I met Johnny Vulgar, that's how I met you, Johnny and Fredro Starr. And they, I had loved Fredro Starr when I was a kid, and Johnny told me they were partners and they had a podcast. And I was like, you're doing the podcast here.
Yes.
And that alone changed everything. They brought Idi Amin from the Outlaws, from Tupac's group, who became one of my partners. I did an event for him called Roses, where we give people their roses while they can still smell them. And, that relationship was amazing. And then I recorded a video about the house, and Carl Kanai saw it, the fashion designer who used to clothe Tupac. So then he brought in all his vintage clothes. We had them in the closet. We would let people do photo shoots in them. He brought in all these giant portraits of Puff and Tupac and Redman and Nas and all these people wearing his clothes, just these most classic, inspiring, incredible things. And it was Taylor Gang came in, and then Chevy Woods and Wiz Khalifa started doing events there. Then we partnered with Rock Nation and all these different brands. And it just became this hub of love and truth and connection. And how do we use, especially in cannabis, how do we use this to have reparations, to create this model for reparations where we can use this money that's coming in from corporate dollars, put it back into people, put it back into the community, and actually create real change.
It's so crazy. The day I met you, I wasn't supposed to be there, to be honest with you, right? I wasn't supposed to be there, and my cousin invited me, and she says, I'm going to be speaking on a podcast. She was like, just come. And I'm like, what? And so I was like, hold on, I got to see about the kids. I got kids, She was like, just ask your mom. So I was like, oh gosh, okay. My mom, I don't want to, burden her.
Totally.
So I asked her and I said, Mom, she wants me to come to this podcast in the Hollywood Hills. She says, bring the kids here and just go. And I went. And I ended up on the podcast with my cousin, which was interesting because I wasn't supposed to be there, but because she invited me, I was able to meet Mr. Fred, that day. We didn't know each other, you know what I mean? So it's just so weird how the universe put me there to just sit down. Because as you can see, I wasn't dressed for an interview. I had I had my Puerto Rican little trucking sweater on with my jeans and Pumas, you know?
You know what Nip said? It's not what's on you, it's what's in you. When you're supposed to be there, the energy is always gonna...
Yes, and that's why I was blown away, because I'm like, just imagine if I never asked my mom. I wouldn't have never met you. I wouldn't have never, met the other guys there. I wouldn't be able to meet different people. But you know what? Going back to Nipsey passing away, I wanted to talk about him because I just feel like something's telling me to talk, so I am. The day that he passed away was just so weird for me, because I woke up that day. John Singleton's son's first birthday was that day. His first birthday in Santa Monica. And my friend, that's her child's father at the time. He's passed, John has gone now. But that day I was there with my baby twins and my children, all 5 of them, at the birthday party in Santa Monica. And next thing you know, I get a text from a gang interventionist, because, I work in the Crenshaw district. And they were like, is it true that, Nipsey gets shot in the head? And I'm like, what? And I'm at the birthday party like, oh my God. And then I try to reach out to my team, the gang interventionist. Nobody will respond. But then that's when John got the text message saying Nipsey he was dead, he died. And that day was just so interesting, because then months later, then John passed. You know what I mean? He crossed over. And I went to his funeral at USC, and just meeting so many people and just knowing his history. You know what I mean? Like, the people that pass away with purpose and vision, you know what I mean, and passion for the community, it's like they take a little piece of us with them. You know what I mean? I remember when Tupac died, I was in high school. If I'm correct, I think it was 97 when he passed. And I think we were going to some kind of senior thing. I don't know if it was Magic Mountain or something, but they told us that he passed, and we cried. We all cried on that bus, and I said to myself, as I was growing up, I knew at the time, even though I talked about Mayor at the age of 15, I was in junior high already creating my obituaries. You know what I mean? I already claimed at the age of 18 I was going to get smoked, get killed, with a gun. And knowing about Tupac getting shot and killed, and then looking at what was happening in the 90s in Inglewood in LA, the gang violence, and me in 97 almost getting killed, it shook something up in me. And I told God, I said, if you spare me, I promise to you I'll start to do your work, And that's when 1999 happened, and I started doing, gang intervention didn't exist, the title, but I was doing gang intervention in 1999 in Inglewood, California. And I was the first female Latina to do a ceasefire against Inglewood and 18th Street. You know what I mean? And then we had our people from Crenshaw Mafia that did the ceasefire as well in their parts for the black gangs. And we were very successful in Inglewood until IPD set up one of the leads, gang interventions from Crenshaw Mafia. He got sent to prison, and then everything just crumbled. And then I end up in Pico Union Rampart doing gang intervention. And so with that to say, doing the footwork in Inglewood and then doing the footwork in LA County, it taught me a lot. And then also working for Viragosa at the time, I was doing gang intervention, and Viragosa hired me to come into City Hall to work in the Department of Gang Reduction Development. So I look at everything of my life and I said, okay, now November 8, 2022, I will be elected to be the first female mayor of Inglewood, the first Mexican-American mayor with Creole roots to be the queen of Inglewood, you know what I mean? And to be able to amplify the voice of Inglewood. I've been in the trenches. I grew up different than other people. And now here I am. Only God could do that. Only God can do that.
Sure.
Only God can do that. So
would Khaled say God did?
Yes, God did. Yes, DJ Khaled, you're the best. I'm the best. We're the best. I need to meet him. He hypes me up. Oh my gosh. I said to myself, when I have that big old event of winning the election, I'm going to play that song. All we do is win,
Yes. And we taking over.
Yes. Yep. I love it. So just, having your presence here and, meeting you last year and just having the honor, and the honor to have you here to share your story and wanted to know, like, what is your next steps? What are your next steps?
Sure. So yeah, I just recently started a company with my partner Christine Hauer, and it's called Changes, in ode to Tupac, in kind of recognition of the song that started this whole path and journey for me. And the mission of Changes, or the question that we ask with Changes, is how do we reprogram the world through the lens of love and truth? All around, through events and episodic experiences where we bring people together, and like we have the event series Roses, where it's the opposite of a comedy roast, where you have people come up on stage and we honor these legends and we present them with a rose and we share our gratitude for them, and we fill the event with all of their favorite things, and flowers and people and cannabis and food, and just a real celebration. And everything that we're creating, the bigger vision is how do we create a new blueprint for the world, because everything is scalable. So if we do this event for, we're going to do one for Onyx with Fredro and Sticky and everything like that. We did one for Idi Amin. But we want it so that then, you could go home and do that for your husband, or you could do it for your children. Like it could be as simple as getting a dozen roses and everybody goes up and they present it to them and they share that love and that gratitude. Like, how do we promote gratitude and vulnerability and love, or, things like that? Or one of the other events that Idi Amin is developing is called Sit Downs, where we bring people together that have beef, whether it's in the industry, in the streets, within their family or whatever. And we bring them around spiritual teachers, OGs, people from the culture that can kind of cultivate an environment for healing, where, we'll prep them with meditation, with massage, get them in that right state, and then help them to kind of talk through these things and then have a celebration, after. And then also through creative productions, like I work with this amazing artist, C5, and we've been creating songs for brands and for causes and for people, and just things of like, how do we really reprogram the world with these angel soldiers and prophets? And that's been a big calling of mine, as God was just saying, bring together my people, bring the angels, bring the soldiers, bring the prophets, and then I'll give you the thing, because we all have our individual collective missions, but I know how powerful we are together. And even your name has come up so much in this last week.
It has?
It has.
Oh, please do talk about it, because I'm curious.
Well, so there's a few different things. So one of them, so there's this new space I'm working out of in Burbank with Tajay Moreno and AJ Lamore. And Tajay actually grew up with Tupac and the Outlaws. Like, he used to live with them. Tupac would make him read books as his rent to be around that. And he just has like a really interesting life and story. He was very close with Nipsey as well. And he's become a psychologist. So he calls himself the Hood Therapist. He has a show called Healing is Gangsta that was on the Dame Dash network. And he just recently acquired Dame Dash's property in Burbank.
I know who he is now. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so we've partnered up to do a lot of stuff at that space. That's, kind of our new Thugs Mansion at the moment. And we just recently did, on September 7th, we did the launch of the Tupac Resurrection movie from 2003, where we brought everybody in to watch it and to kind of to get into that energy of like, this is the bigger vision and mission. Like, this is what the spirit of an outlaw is. Like, Edie had told me what it was. He's like, it's the spirit of freedom. It's fighting for the underdog. It's love. It's truth. It's not just caring about money. It's caring about people. And, I think that we all want to have that. We all want to embody that. And I think that through Changes, through these episodic events and these structures that we're creating, we can help people to live out their soul's purpose, to connect with people, to get out of the matrix, quote unquote, and to really bring these visions to life, because we are so much more more powerful together. And so I was talking to Tajay about you and just telling him a little bit about your background. And he was like, I would love to have her as a guest on the show. Like, that's incredible.
Gosh. And that's funny because me and my husband at late night was watching him. And it was something about him talking about something pertaining to that, you know? Yeah. And I don't remember, but I remember him. He left an imprint on me. And I remember sitting there in the bed, it was late night, and I said, I'm gonna meet him one day.
Look at God.
And now you're telling me like he would like to meet me. It's crazy because I was late night, 11, 12 midnight with my husband, watching his show because it was something dealing, they had the DJ, they had, what's the guy's name that you just mentioned? Dame Dash there. And they were talking about stuff like that. And he was talking about healing and everything. And I was blown away by him because he looked like he would be Inglewood, Crenshaw, Compton, Watts. But he was so educated and what was coming out of his mouth was so inspiring. And I was like, I'm gonna meet him one day.
Yes.
And I'm just like, wow. Oh my gosh.
Yes. No, we had, I was down in OC yesterday. He had an interview at Cannabis Talk 101. There's this amazing man named Cal that I had met through Tajay at the Tupac Resurrection movie. And he had just connected so deeply with what I was saying. And he's like, I want you to come down and see Cannabis Talk. And we were down there for 11 hours yesterday, just talking and talking. And when I brought you up, Tajay was just like, wow, like that's really the type of people and energy. And like, that's what I say when I say angel, soldiers, prophets.
When I'm an underdog, I tell people all the time, somebody today sent me an email, say, why should we endorse you? I'm all like, you should endorse me because I'm an underdog and I'm going against a Goliath. The mission of clean water, air, and all of that, he's not doing that.
Totally.
So you need to find somebody that's grassroots. That's been in the trenches, that wants to truly help their community. And if you help the underdog, you're the first person that will endorse me as an organization. That would mean the world to me because most people will not endorse an underdog because they're too worried about their brand. They're not worried about the community. They're worried about their brand. And that's the problem that I have, you know? And eventually I'm going to get bigger in politics. Like my goal is so crazy. It's like after mayor, I want to do governor. After governor, the president of the United States.
Yes.
I'm going to try. That's all I could do. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, you know, I want to help the community in a bigger level, bigger level. And then eventually go on my spiritual journey to become a prophet. So all the gifts that God has given me, I want to heal people. I want to help people through him.
You know do that.
Yes, I do that now, but I want to do it on a bigger scale.
For sure.
Yes.
But you are. Like you, angel soldiers, like that is who you are.
I love it.
And I remember when I met you and you said, oh, I'm running for mayor. And I told you the hair on my arms stood up and I could feel it in your presence. That confirmation. Totally. And that's one of the gifts that I've been blessed with is that when I meet God's people and I meet the people that are I know immediately, and it makes me want to support, and it makes me want to, okay, how do we do this the unconventional way? Because same thing, I'm an underdog. I don't have any companies backing me. A lot of this stuff I finance myself. I figure it out, but God always comes through. It always comes through because when you're worried about the brand or like that's the stuff that I want to get away from. Like when I talk about reprogramming the world, like even when it comes to like, okay, for example, one of my ideas that I did bring to life in a smaller way, but I see it in a bigger way is reparations doesn't have to come through the government. It can come through companies. It can come through communities. Like there's all these different ways. We have to think outside of the box. So say it's like Nike does a deal with LeBron for $1 million. Like, okay, let's have a tithe that goes back into the community, 10%. So I want $100,000 on top of that. Instead of that money going to a nonprofit that you can write off because it's no, put that $100,000. Maybe you give that to 2 creatives in the community that are somebody like you, somebody that's really doing the work so that they can take the time, they can breathe, and then they can be in their full creative potential. Like there's just so much that we can do, and it takes the spirit of the outlaw people, the underdog people, the Nipseys, the people that are fearless or that are doing that. And that's who I want to support. There might be giant corporations that have good people in them, but like what I've found is it is the grassroots, it is the people on the ground, it is the people from the communities that are truly making that change. And that's who I want to unite, because with the backing, you never know, like the miracles that God will do when you bring the right people in the room. Totally. It's that
Anything
energy.
is possible.
Totally.
Oh my God.
And that's what I want people to see, because I feel like people are there's so much hopelessness, there's so much desperation.
Especially after COVID.
For sure.
Or supposedly during, because we're still supposedly in it.
For
It's
sure.
a lot of sadness came through, a lot of death happened, and with that to say, I'm happy that you're here to talk about changes. I definitely am going to work with you because I already see a lot of things that we can collaborate with in Inglewood for our youth and for our community. And how can our viewers find you on social media?
Yeah, so my social media is at Penny Lane 401, PENNYLANE 401. You could go to my website, lauraseddon.com, LauraSeddon.com, or you can go to our Changes website, which is the number 2, changes.com.
Man, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say as we close the show today?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I feel so blessed to be in the presence of a true queen, and you have my support, and whatever I can do to help, I'm here, and I'm so proud of you, and I hope the world gets to see you on your rightful throne.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too.
Well, Purpose and Passion is signing out, and if you ever have questions, catch me on Instagram at Purpose and Passion Show. Send out those questions. If you have questions for Laura or myself, or if you want other people to come out on the show to be a guest, or if you want to come out, I'm a community leader, so I'm not embarrassed to interview regular people. You know what I mean? Regular people are awesome people. We are celebrities in our own right. So until then, this is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion signing out. Peace.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radical, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.